An 18-year-old woman lies in a room with no windows and only one door. Her throat is torn open. All night long, on the other side of that door, something waits to finish what it started. And that woman is only one of 400. 400 people. That's the number attributed to a single creature that stalked the Kumaon hills of northern India in the early 20th century. Not a war, not an epidemic. One single animal. The question that's going to haunt you for the next few minutes is this: how did a single leopard, an animal that normally flees from humans, come to kill 400 people? And why, for years, was no one able to stop it? And let me warn you now, the most disturbing part of this story isn't the number. It's what that animal began to do once it stopped being afraid. Let's take it step by step. The Panar leopard was an adult male leopard blamed for the deaths of more than 400 people in the early 20th century in the Panar region of the Almora district, in Kumaon, northern India. To grasp the scale, with over 400 victims, the Panar man-eater ranks second, behind only the Champawat tiger, as the most prolific killer of humans ever recorded. One leopard, second in history, beaten only by a tiger. And here's the first thing that doesn't add up. Because leopards don't usually do this. A healthy leopard avoids humans. It hides, hunts at night, disappears. So what turns an elusive animal into a hunter of people? The answer lies in something that happened before the leopard ever killed anyone. The very hunter who would end it had a theory, and it's chilling. Corbett theorized that the Panar man-eater developed a taste for human flesh after feeding on the victims of a severe cholera outbreak in the region. Think about it. An epidemic sweeps through the mountain villages. There are more dead than hands to bury them, and the bodies are left out in the open. After feeding for years on the corpses of people struck down by various epidemics, the Panar leopard watched its food source dwindle as those epidemics passed, so it began to hunt people. In other words, disease taught it that humans were food, and when the disease left, the habit stayed. That is the birth of the terror. But wait, because what it did next is even more disturbing. In those first years, the leopard was practically a ghost. Over a span of just a few years, it was responsible for hundreds of deaths. Attempts by local hunters and authorities to trap or shoot the animal failed. The leopard proved so elusive that it was almost never seen, despite the many attacks. Hundreds dead, and almost no one had even laid eyes on it. It killed and it vanished. But here's the twist that changes everything. That same animal, in time, lost its fear. And what it began to do is what turned Panar into a place of nightmares. It grew so bold that it would enter homes and drag its victims away in front of their terrified families. It comes inside, in front of everyone, and it takes someone. Imagine living like that. When night fell, people barricaded themselves in their houses and simply prayed for the best. And not even inside your own home were you safe. The terror grew so great that it stopped being the problem of one remote village. It crossed continents. Hold on to this. The British House of Commons was in an uproar in 1910. Members of Parliament rose to demand what was being done to end a particularly dangerous threat overseas. Lives were being lost in Panar, India, at an alarming rate, and tens of thousands of people were terrified. A single leopard debated in the parliament of the greatest empire in the world. Its cunning and ferocity were so appalling that many Indians were convinced it was supernatural, and even some of the country's boldest hunters were too afraid to take on the task of killing it. Supernatural. That's where fear goes when something can't be explained. And this is where the man who agreed to go after it enters. His name was Jim Corbett. Edward James Corbett was an Anglo-Indian hunter and author who won fame hunting and killing several man-eating tigers and leopards in northern India, as he recounted in his 1944 memoir, Man-Eaters of Kumaon. Corbett already knew the region. During his hunt for the Champawat tiger, word reached Corbett of a prolific man-eating leopard. He arrived in Panar in 1909. And then, in April 1910, the story turns intimate, because we return to that room from the very beginning. In April 1910, Corbett met a couple who had been attacked by the leopard the night before. The wife had been wounded when the leopard dragged her across the room by the neck, tearing at her with its claws. The husband managed to drive it off, but the leopard spent the rest of the night trying to finish off its prey. That woman was 18 years old. She was in a room with a single door and no windows. There were flies in the room, and for lack of proper treatment, the wounds turned septic. Corbett understood the woman would die anyway, and he spent the night in the couple's house waiting for the leopard to appear. But it never did. The animal was too clever. And this is where the hunt becomes a duel that drags on for months. Because it wasn't quick, it wasn't clean. It was a war of patience against an enemy that always seemed to know where the hunter was. He succeeded, but it took him more than 6 months. He nearly died in the process, and the leopard claimed many more victims while Corbett stalked it. More dead, while the finest hunter in the country was literally on its trail. The end came in September 1910. Corbett walked some 48 kilometers through the forest and reached a village where the leopard had recently killed 4 men. He used 2 goats as bait and waited. The leopard took the first goat in complete silence, unnoticed. It returned 3 nights later and took the second. The darkness was total, and here Corbett does something almost blind. He fired into the dark and wounded the animal. Then he tracked it by torchlight to finally kill the injured cat. As he approached the thicket, the leopard appeared. The men dropped their torches and ran for their lives, but Corbett held firm, used the light of the fallen torches, and brought the leopard down. After years. After hundreds dead. After a debate in the British Parliament. It ended like this. One man alone, in the dark, guided by sound. And here comes the most uncomfortable part of this whole story. The real answer to our question. Because this leopard, with its monstrous toll of 400 victims, left almost no mark on popular memory. It was finally shot by the renowned hunter Jim Corbett in 1910, but it actually drew less attention than other, less notorious man-eaters, because of the remote location of Almora. There's the chilling part. It wasn't the number that saved it from being forgotten, nor the number that buried it. It was geography. Panar was too far away, too hidden in the mountains. And a slaughter that happens where no one is looking, even if it's the second largest in history, becomes almost a rumor. So how did a single leopard come to kill 400 people? Through a chain of linked misfortunes. An epidemic that filled the hills with corpses, an animal that learned humans were food, and a corner of the world so isolated that its terror could grow for years, almost in silence. Corbett always argued something important. And I'll leave you with this. In his view, the unburied human bodies left behind during the epidemics were the main reason the leopards of Rudraprayag and Panar became man-eaters. In other words, it wasn't born a monster. We made it a monster without meaning to. And that, perhaps, is why the most disturbing thing isn't how many it killed, but how close it came to vanishing from history altogether.